All right, welcome everyone. Sorry for the late start. All right, welcome everyone. Sorry for the late start. All right, welcome everyone. Sorry for the late start. All right, welcome everyone. Sorry for the late start. Let's. There's a bit of a feedback loop there. It's
That was coming from you.
feedback loop there. No, I think it might be coming from your end. Turn off my speakers.
Am I logged on twice or something?
But I think it's okay now. Um, All right, let's go ahead and open up a pair of fish workers and then we'll. Yeah, I think it's okay. It sounds like it's okay. Prayer for spiritual workers. Almighty God, I bless all those who, because of their limitations, would smite me. Almighty God, I bless all those who, because of their weakness, would not heed me. Almighty God, I bless all those who, because of their ignorance, would defile you through me. And I ask, Almighty God, O wondrous power, that your strength may be given to me now, so that I might be fortified by this, so that I might go forward bravely into the world, and despite reception, send forth my love of thee throughout all races of man. Almighty God, give me the power and strength to rise above my karmic weakness, the deficiencies in the pattern of my evolution, so that I might evolve and become stronger, aye, and even stronger in thy everlasting light. O God, thy will be done. All right, welcome everyone. Again, apologize for the late start. Uh, Good, welcome, Hardy. Yes, we're finished editing it. You should see the document coming your way shortly or soon, very soon. Okay, welcome everyone to another RSS session. And get back to my presentation here. I will be kind of jumping back and forth today, and it might be a bit of a short class, but that's okay. Today we're going to continue on looking at the edits we made to the uh, 8 components of magic civilization. So last time we looked at a couple of paragraphs to kind of give everyone an idea of the process we employ when we're editing documents and, creating materials for the classes. And we didn't get very far because I spent quite a bit of time selling the process and also describing um, how we work. And then as we were going through revisions of the document, there were times where we would stop and ask questions, Mr. Davis, and get his explanations on some of his thinking and the methodology behind um, how he organizes his thoughts and presents them for us to help us understand these concepts. So today I want to continue on with that and focus on key sections of the document. So I don't want to just read through it verbatim. Instead, I have us focus on points that I want to emphasize, and then when the document is released, everyone can get a hold of it and read it themselves. And if you're going through the document and you see that there are, in any material actually, not just this one by itself, anytime in the future, if you see that there's a way that we present an idea or a way that we word something, and you'd like to suggest an edit or an enhancement, or you know, or just contribute to the process in any way, you can feel free to do so. Send us an email, let us know. Maybe you read this particular paragraph and didn't quite make sense to you. Is there another way you can explain it or reword it, or, and give us back some feedback. We'd appreciate um, from everyone. And as well, if you'd like to participate, volunteer and help us out with this process of producing these materials, um, with the classes, or in any way you feel like you can contribute, whether it's helping us on the back end with the web design. We're still trying to fix the website and update the website. We're trying to improve our offerings, be it with the YouTube classes, the classes we have, the videos they have on YouTube, or social media, or any type of way you feel like you can contribute and help. We'd be happy to um, accept your assistance. So before we go into that, as per usual, we have our weekly services that we offer through the Atheist Society Florida group, including 12 blessing services, absentee healing. And so if you're in need of some healing, or a family member or someone close to you, you'd like to request healing on their behalf, feel free to send us an email and we'll add them to our weekly absentee healing list. We also hold commemoration services, Faith Society services, and eventually through the Florida group as well, we'll begin a study of the teachings of Dr. Sri Yogi George King, of and given through Dr. George King, including like the nine freedoms and the 12 blessings. I feel that there's quite a lot to go into in each of the works given to us via the Theory Society. And I would really like to, if, if only for our benefit, to really go into and study those works. Like Mr. Davis and I, just a couple nights ago, we were talking about the 12 blessings and just how much is in a prayer, the structure of it, the mechanisms of it. It's the more you look into it, and then the more you open yourself up to these teachings, the more you practice the teachings, the more you apply the teachings, the more that is revealed to you, even in the midst of your practice. You know, it's not a rare occasion for, at least for myself, while I'm performing the 12 blessings or pranayama or mantra japa, um, little flashes of inspiration will come through and say, you know, you can enhance um, this mantra If you just change this intonation here, or if you hold your hands in this particular way, you can enhance the flow of the prana as you're projecting it through prayer. Or if you um, add a silence here and a silence there with the recitation of the AUM, for example, something we were talking about, you can enhance the your japa of the AUM. So there's the more you practice, and this kind of goes into your question, Heidi, without actually posing it so that Mr. Davis can answer it. Um, your question is, what is the best way of absorbing your knowledge? Suppose I want to remember all your teachings, then what is the best way in making note, or is it reading or experiencing it? Um, as all things cannot be applied directly, how to hold the information in brain for a long time. Um, for me, Hardy, it seems you we're told so that in the process of awakening and raising Kundalini, we're to throw everything we have, everything we are at it, and all of our experience over all of our lives. We throw it all at um, this Kundalini to awaken and to move it, um, all of your concentration, all of your focus, everything you have at the awakening this dormant energy within you. And a similar approach is I found valuable when it comes to not just studying the teachings, but the application of it and trying to application goes beyond just sitting down for an hour and reciting mantra or sitting down for an hour and um, engaging the 12 blessings. Yes, that's important, but it's also including it in every aspect of your life. Bhakti yoga is the acknowledgement of God in all things. Okay, we understand that. But do you actually acknowledge God in everything around you, in every tree, in every plant, in every animal, in every insect, in every person? Do you see a reflection of God in them? You know, when we greet each other and say namaste, that means the divine within me acknowledges the divine within you. Do you really apply that? So to actually look at another person and see them as an aspect of God and treat them as an aspect of God. It Studying the teachings is great. It's wonderful and is a necessary aspect of your growth and development. But to leave it as just an academic or intellectual exercise doesn't do the teachings justice, nor does it do you justice. It is, for a better term, a lifestyle, really, as least I've found. When you, before you eat, do you recognize the sacrifice that was made by those live streams in your plate to allow you to continue to sustain yourself and sustain your consciousness in this realm? You know, Master Theorist gave us a practice of cleansing and blessing and thanking the food. And we're not thanking the food itself, we're thanking the sacrifice that was made by those plants, and if you're a vegetarian or not, then by those animal life, um, to go into your body and to sustain the body and to allow you to maintain consciousness on this realm of existence and gain more experience. You can answer more if you.
Yeah, I agree with you. It must yoga. That's why when I teach the 12 yogas because it gives you a wide range of study and things to adopt in your life. And if you notice, the I think it's the first 5 yogas is make up all the yogas. So so you adopt those in your daily lives, and it's no longer a memory, it's a way of life. It's not you have to remember certain things. If it, like let's say if you if you adopt the Raja Yoga 8 limbs of yoga, which encompasses at least 11 other yogas in Raja Yoga. That's why they call Raja Yoga the royal yoga. And in Raja Yoga, the first lesson, the first limb is yama, control of thoughts, word, and deeds or actions. So when you begin to put those things in place, it becomes a way of life for you. You take a vow of nonviolence as part of yama. There's like 10 yamas that they tell you to adopt. A vow of nonviolence, truthfulness, non-stealing, celibacy, uh, forgetfulness and patience. I mean forgiveness and patience. You have to try to be a forgiving person and have patience with people. You have to learn to discriminate. Discrimination is very important. You know, compassion, honesty, sincerity, and you have to have you you moderate your appetite towards things, and you try to live uh, in a pure fashion. You try to adopt purity in everything you do. So those are like the 10 yamas and that becomes a way of life. And what it does, it begins to kill out the impurity traits within the body and mind. When you take on a particular attitude of these 10 yamas, you cannot, you you know, you're not going to be tempted by things that you are opposed of. In the beginning, you will, but after it ingrained itself in you, you will move away from it. And you will, because you begin to understand it, you accept it as part of you. And you begin to see points of views that other people cannot see. A true mystic is almost impossible for a true mystic to be a racist or to hate or to not love something, no matter what state they're in, because they see the spirit or the soul of that person or that thing. So those are, and the same thing with the second limb is niyam. Niyam is, you take on, they have another 10 principles of niyama, which it's 10 ways to observe God or accept God in your daily life. And that's having remorse for people, contentment, be very generous, give of yourself and of your things if necessary. Believe firmly in God and in every situation. God is not trying to punish you. You are an aspect of God. There's a molding, there's a shaping and molding process in order to get back to God, to get back to the source where you unite consciously with the absolute of God. Worship everything in life because it's an aspect of God, but know the proper perspective, the proper position of everything at the same time. So if you worship God, you worship all life because there's a process, even if you don't understand it. Listen to the wise. Develop a spiritual will that propels you to do all these things. If you have a religion that, vow yourself to that religious that those religious beliefs, but discriminate in doing that. Then in the yama, you you make a practice of chanting mantra every day, you know, through thought, through whisper, and through voice. And if you can't do the voice, you write it. And you practice these disciplines in order to burn up the impurities in your auric or your nadi pathways. That becomes a way of life for you. So that's what we mean by way of life. That's what we mean by accepting these truths as a way of life. And then you go to the other limbs, you could sit down and begin to, position yourself with the asanas, the mudras, and you can actually, because you have began the purifying of the aura. You decoding your aura to a higher state of consciousness. And so now when you sit down to go and sit in silence and do your mantra and do your concentration, contemplation, meditation, you you're actually sitting there in a position to receive the power because you're moving the blockages that's stopping you from receiving this great power. In other words, they say, be still and know that I am God. So I am God is power. So and then you understand the significance of the pranayama, taking in that energy, which is the fourth limb, and using that energy for good, not for the 21 impurities that's in your that's a part of you that you have made a part of you over your lifetimes of reincarnation. You understand that you're going to resist that and you're going to do those things that Yama and Nayama have taught you to do. And then once you clear the mind, the virities, there's the modifications have lessened itself. You can withdraw your senses and go into concentration, contemplation, and meditation. And that's the way of life. That's the pathway we want to go. It doesn't take much to understand this. So, if you adopt these principles, I hope that's understandable. I hope that's clear enough.
Okay. Well, thank you, Hari, and everyone else. Welcome if you're joining us. If you have any questions or comments, do feel free to post them in the chat, and we'll um, be happy to address those for you. Uh, Today, I wanted to continue on with our kind of a peek at how we do our editing and work on the back end was as we started and showed last session. Continuing with the 8 components of imagination and visualization methods today. Of that document, sorry. I'm continuing with that document and going over the editing process live with Mr. Davis here, the author of the document. I'm trying to look for a good place to pick up because I don't want to go through the entire document. I want to leave that for everyone when we get a chance to, once we send it out. But all right, let's finish. Let's continue here. I think I left off here. But if there are any questions or comments, again, please feel free to post them in the chat. Today's class is going to be probably a short one, um, because I may have to leave in about 30 or so minutes or 45 minutes. We'll see as we go along. So let me put this up. Can't get Zoom to cooperate. There we go. So again, this is the document eight components of imaginary visualization. And generally, when we are working on a book or a handout or what have you, we will, um, Mr. Davis will put together his first draft, share it with us, and then we will go through it and make edits. In the past, we would all work on a separate version, a separate document individually, and then uh, send all of our edits to Mr. Davis. In recent times, we've been working with shared online versions like this one, and we can all jump in and make our edits and changes as we go along. And hopefully, um, it works out in a cohesive manner so that the document is being viewed by multiple perspectives and receiving input from multiple perspectives, and therefore is constructed in a way that it reach the largest audience as possible. This is a process that any of you, if you wish to volunteer and participate with more than welcome to do so. And it doesn't necessarily matter if English is your first language or not. Your input is still valuable because it will allow us to reach a wider audience and present the information in a way that everyone, irrespective of their background or culture or upbringing, should be able to pull or gain something from the material presented. So last time we looked at a couple of paragraphs in the introduction, and we went back and forth with Mr. Davis, um, explaining certain ideas. The what's in red here are the edits and suggestions that I made, and then once I complete my pass, or several of us complete our pass, we send it back to Mr. Davis, and he says, "Yes, this is good. I like this," or "No, I want to push this back." Mr. Davis has the final say in what goes out to everyone, either to publishing or out to to you guys. We share it via email or post it in one of our shared folders. And generally, it goes back and forth like this until a final version is agreed upon, and then Mr. Davis gives it his blessing, and it goes out. So today we'll pick up here the power of imagination. Um, and generally, when I'm reading through something, I mentioned this last week as well, one of the benefits of doing work like this is it allows me to peer, well, personally, it first allows me to learn and to grow because I am studying this as I'm going along reading it. But I'm not just reading it uh, from the perspective of a student who's trying to absorb. I'm also trying to peer deeper into the mind of the author to understand what it is Mr. Davis is trying to say. And in order to do that, there has to be a strengthening of the connection between, teacher and student, so that I can pull that information or access that information from Mr. Davis, that thought, and help with the translation of it into a written word with all of its limitations and with all of my limitations as well. So there is that added benefit of developing a deeper connection um, with Mr. Davis or with any author or teacher, as with Dr. George King, for example. When you read his work and uh, actually and study Dr. King's teachings, you build a deeper connection with that being, with that consciousness, and it allows for the communion to grow and expand so that even when you're not studying, when you're just going about your daily life, that connection persists and you can hear the voice of the masters, as they say, um, throughout your daily life. So as same thing with yourself, as you're studying the teachings, either be um, Rama Prasad, Sivananda, Vivekananda, Dr. George King, Mr. Davis' books, what have you, whichever ones you choose to follow. Um, uh, don't just casually read through them. Maybe take 3 or 4 passes through a single book to and then begin to study it. Each pass um, creates and deepens a positive samskara within the aura. You're now downloading these, as Ms. Davis calls them, megabytes of information into your auric pattern and allowing the mind to raise higher, the brain to raise higher to access higher and higher levels of mind. And the more you foster that connection, the easier it is for you to tap into higher levels of mind. In Dr. George King's lecture on mind, he equates the brain to a pincushion. And I hope I'm not messing up this allegory. Um, and he says the first time you push a pin into a pincushion, there's resistance there, and it's harder to get the pin through. But if you consistently push that pin through that same hole over and over again, it makes it easier and easier for the pin to pass through. It's the same thing with the brain. As we begin to study these teachings, um, you make these pathways to higher levels of mind, and as you consistently study over and over and over again, consistently practice over and over and over again, you strengthen and widen these pathways to these higher levels of mind, allowing you to access higher and higher levels of intuition. Is that correct, Nima, or am I kind of messing up the illustration? Where's my point?
That's what he was trying to say, that the more you open up those channels, the greater information, the greater the capacity of information can be pulled through.
Right. So when you are engaging in your practice, when you're reading and then reading again, and studying the teachings, do not be dismayed if, the first couple of times you read through a text and it's confusing, it feels overwhelming, and it feels like you're just not getting it. Um, that's okay. That confusion, that initial confusion, is part of the learning process. This may be in all of your incarnations, and engaging in the teachings in this way may be relatively new for you. So it'll take some time to create those pathways and to clean up the impurities and to allow a higher energy to make its way through your particular auric pattern. But keep at it, keep practicing, keep studying, um, and it will begin to dawn upon you, um, these truths, and they'll work their way into your life, as Mr. Davis was talking about earlier. Right, how do you have a question here? So, sometimes while I'm doing concentrative practice, I really feel the intensity of it, but sometimes I'm only physically available there. Will it improve in with time? Sometimes while I'm doing concentrated practices, I really feel the intensity of it. All right, how did you mean? Okay, sometimes while you're doing concentrated practice, you can feel the intensity of your concentration, but other times it only feels like you're physically there, but the intensity or the is not there. Will that improve with time?
It practice makes perfect. I mean, you have to continue to practice at something, and the more you do something, the more you learn about it, and you learn the nature of it. So as you dive into concentration, which is directing the mind down one channel and blocking everything out, just thinking about that one particular subject or thing, then you would notice that every time you do it, you get better at doing it. Now, of course, environment is important. I mean, if you load your if you load your mind up and your environment and the things you do during the day with just foolishness, and that's going to attach itself to your aura, that's going to create what Patanjali talked about. Is going to modify the auric body, the valence level, the outer levels of the aura is going to antagonize it, and you're going to have a lot of grasshopping thoughts. You're not going to be able to get deep down into whatever you're trying to think about, and it's going to disturb your concentration. It's almost like if you watch a bad television program that that put you in an emotional state, or a song that put you in an emotional state. It's going to be hard to get serious after indulging in that. So that's why you're taught with the first limbs to take on the ten principles of Yama, the 10 principles of Nayama, to control your mind, your your uh your thoughts and your actions, you know, so so that you can predict what's going to happen when something come out of your mind, or when you sit down to just do something, you know. So that's just normal. It's a normal thing. Sometimes you're going to get it until you take control of your mind. Once you take control of your mind, every time you sit down, you'll be able to reach a certain point. But until you do that, you're not going to be able to do it. So unless something unusual happen, or your or you get sick or something, or something intrudes in your life, but you'll find the point where you can move past that even as well. Hope that answers your question.
Okay. Hello, Sai. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. All right, so let's pick up here with the power of imagination is an inherent quality within the human psychological makeup. Uh, it gives human beings the ability to build a mental image in their minds and within the auric mental structure. The power of imagination creates a huge demand on various types of subtle energies, such as the psychic mental energies, within the auric structure, and pulls on the surrounding mental and vital energies to manifest the thought patterns. Is this the right version? Maybe not. The inherent faculty of imagination throws into action the power of Kundalini, the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, part of the superconscious mind, the auric envelope, the nadi system, and the chakra system. Kundalini is the vehicle of consciousness, and it creates the pathway to feed the imagination or the thought forms it creates. The following are the components to creating and sustaining the imagination and visualization of the imaginative thought forms. 1. Pranayama science. A mystic imaginative state brings about a natural regulation of breath. So, to apply the knowledge of pranayama science and techniques will only serve to build the capacity of imagination. 2. Mantra Sastra, or sound knowledge. The laws of Mantra Sastra teach us teaches us that this ancient science of sound vibrations has the power to help accelerate the formation of the thought forms created by imagination. Next, mantra japa, repetition. Mantra can feed the imaginative thought forms through the mantra japa technique of the repetition of mantra words, of the mantra words. The mantra words codes the thought forms with megabytes of subtle powers, which help to manifest the thought forms. Mudra Yoga. Mudra Yoga techniques are known to help manipulate the subtle energies generated from pranayama, mantra japa, balanced affirmation, visualization practices, and prayer techniques. Visualization practices. A technique that sustains imagination and its thought forms. This component and technique of imagination is the vehicle to stimulate and harness all subtle energies generated to be utilized to sustain thought forms. And then now we go into the components. And I'm sorry, we're going into more detail of the components. First component being imagination, man's only creative faculty. One of the keys to tapping into the universal mind substance, which contains the all knowledge space, is our inherent faculty, imagination. As stated by the late Western master of yoga, Dr. George King, imagination is man's only creative faculty. The ability to imagine is something that all man has from birth, and he uses this ability throughout his life to achieve almost everything he's confronted with. Man's, man's imagination has a magnetic effect on the psycho-mental level of his being, which causes various mental explosive activities that produces the mental images desired from his mental command. The mental thought forms that are produced and manifested by man's interactions in life through the process of imagination are placed on and within the human aura of man. The amount of knowledge possessed on the subject being thought forms, and the desire put forward towards the subject with love energy for the subject dictates the lifespan of the imaginative thought forms. All right, this I had highlighted because I had a question about it, but as I'm reading through the document a second time, the question is answered, so I can remove this. These thought forms hang on our aura and creates what I call and creates or and create what I call yeah okay and create what I call a karmic signature of the person. It actually helps to mold and shape the mental, emotional, and physical state of man's life. My stomach. Each one of these thought forms have various colors, shapes, and patterns that formulates throughout the aura of man. These thought forms discolor and distort the aura, the nadi nats chakras, and nadis subtle nervous systems, which serves to affect the levels of mind substance and cosmic energy frequencies that are constantly bombarding the chakras of man. So we were discussing that earlier. These thought forms, whether they are positive or negative, serves to cloud and impress the atmosphere of the psycho-mental, emotional, astral, and physical levels. These thought forms also lead towards creating massive energized thought form entities which serve what did I do here? No, which serve to give particular areas strong characteristics, environmental samskaras. Oh, this I wanted to go into more environmental samskaras, but that's a big topic, so that will probably uh that could be a write-up in and of itself. But very briefly, Nehemiah, can you go over or go into uh um environmental samskaras? Oh, my stomach.
Mm, I guess I was just talking about this morning. My daughter came and asked me a question about it. Um, Simple answer. I told her that it was my it was my wife and I aura and thought forms that created the environment of this house. We purchased this house, we furnished this house, we made a comfortable life, we paid for her schooling all the way through high school, college. She just recently graduated. And now she got her bachelor's and she's living her life. And I told her, I said it was everything started from our thought forms, which created the samskaras, which polluted this environment to a certain degree in order to manifest those things. So environmental samskaras are the things that because your aura manufacture your life, the life lessons you need to learn. So wherever you are is because you deserve those lessons for right now. So that's your environmental samskaras. Now you can take control over these things and through as Dr. George King talked about in his lecture, Imagination, Your Only Creative Faculty, and shape and mold your environment and the talents that you want to express through your aura, through your own self-expression in order to build the life you want to build. So I think that's the simplest way to talk about.
And you can go into certain places and feel the environment of samskara. Like for example, you walk into a library and you feel a studious silence that everyone adheres to. Well, usually everyone adheres to. Or you can walk into a temple or a monastery or a church and you can feel the reverent atmosphere there. Um, and similar ideas. I forgot where I was going with that.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when I first started driving around to different states,
Yeah, that too.
I don't know, about 40 some years ago. And the first thing I would notice is the aura around the town and how it shifts or change from town to town. And if you're paying attention, you can just look up right above the city and you'll see the color aura. You can kind of sense what it's going to be. And when you get there, you can feel it impact you immediately. And that's the group consciousness that was created from all the different samskaras of that community that bring about the necessary pressure to teach with a higher self. The higher self bring about those necessary karmic pressures to give everybody the most viable experience they need. And no one's in your life by mistake. Is it's a magnetic attraction. And if you just have one little ounce of psychic powers and you go on a trip, you'll notice those things
Yeah.
immediately.
Okay. And again, as we're going through today's session, if you have any questions or comments on either material we're looking at or on any metaphysically related subject at all, feel free to post in the chat and we'll do our best to address it for you. The imagination of man is an inherent creative faculty that man uses to tap into the universal mind substance and the all-pervasive cosmic energies, prana, in order to pull down and mold this endless supply of divine potential into gross manifestation. Man's uncontrol man's uncontrollable imagination is the thing that is slowly destroying his gross state of manifestation, physical life, by creating negative thought patterns that transforms into mental, emotional, and physical disorders that eat away at their very being. The result of this is countless reincarnations to work out the negative karmic position activated by the contamination of the auric body extending from the negative thought forms of uncontrollable imagination. Okay, so here is a key. I remember last session, uh, I was talking about how there is a sentence here in the introduction where in a single sentence here measures has a magnetic effect. It's yeah, here. In this sentence here, it says man's imagination has a magnetic effect on the psycho-mental level of his being, which creates various mental explosive activities that produces mental images that are designed from his mental command. And I said that if you were just going through this document as in a way of general editing, uh, the repetition of the word mental 4 times in this one sentence would stick out to you, and you probably see that's it's repetitive use, and you'd probably want to cut down on the term mental and word it differently. But when as you do activities like this, where you're um, assisting a teacher to propagate the teachings, you make a deeper connection with that teacher, and you begin, and you're constantly probing the mind or the conscious of that teacher to gain a deeper understanding of what it is that teacher is trying to say. And in doing so, you begin to realize that there's meaning behind actions like this, where a term is repeated over and over and over again, even within a single sentence. There's a point that the teacher or the author is trying to get across to the student. There's an impression the teacher is trying to make on the mind of the student. And so therefore, this isn't a grammatical error, but an intentional action um, by the author, by the teacher. Why is psychomental being stressed so much in the beginning of the introduction, being the document? Um, my impression was that the Mr. Davis' intention was to put forward that not just in imagination, but we are mental beings. We are products of our thoughts, which influence our words and our actions. Those are, um, we mold and shape our karma um, by our thoughts, words, and actions. And therefore, when we come down here, what did I just read? Here we go. In this paragraph, that idea is reinforced because it is through our imagination that our physical life, our physical existence is molded and shaped. If that imagination is uncontrolled, as is stated here in this sentence, it slowly destroys our gross manifestation by creating negative thought patterns that transmits to mental, emotional, and physical disorders that eats away at our very being, which feeds into our environment as well, which is mentioned up here, the characteristics of our environment, some scars. We create our environment, we create our health, we even create our very bodies that we inhabit each incarnation. So if this is true, uncontrollable imagination destroys our growth states of manifestation. The opposite is also true, as we'll get into further in the document. A controlled imagination builds the growth manifestation by creating positive thought patterns, which transforms mental, emotional, and physical, and enhances our very being. So you'll see that the approach in which not just Mr. Davis, but but we're talking about specifically Mr. Davis here because this is his document, but many of the teachers do, is they will approach a subject from multiple angles. Um, and it may seem like he's saying the same thing over and over and over again, but he's looking at it, he's coming from the left, coming from the right, coming from the top, coming from the bottom, coming from all these different directions to present this idea, not just to present it, but to help us to digest it and apply it, and therefore enhance our own spiritual development. And the more you do things like this, where you allow yourself to be used in a way to help, um, as in some small way, a channel or vessel to help propagate the teachings, you yourself are taught and you grow and you are able to make these linkages with the masters through the teachings. A lot of people, especially in the West, we misunderstand um, master and guru. When we say we give pray homage to our guru, when we worship our master, um, especially in certain cultures here in the West, they they misinterpret that as a servitude, as a type of slavery, or as we're worshiping an idol. And it's not the case at all. What it is we honor these beings for their proximity, we'll say, um, to God. Yes, look, God is all pervasive and within all of us, but they have a deeper and a greater connection to that all knowledge space. And they leave that space, turn around and offer the jewels of that enlightenment to us who are at a, for better words terms, at a lower level of evolution to allow us the benefit of um, of those jewels of wisdom, and so that we can grow in our spiritual development as well. So when we honor our master or honor our gurus, it is a way of giving thanks to God for the blessing of a guru, which really what the guru does is removes us from the darkness of ignorance into the light of wisdom and enlightenment. We give thanks to our guru. We give thanks to God through our guru for providing us with this channel to grow and to evolve um, in our own patterns from that point on our evolution and forever onwards. So do not confuse the idea or allow culture to um, limit your acceptance of a master or a guru. To their purpose really is to help you grow, to help you grow closer to God, to help you achieve yoga, union with God. And so we worship and honor them because of the sacrifice they have made and are continually making to allow us to grow um, in our own evolution, to gain more experience in the same way um, the Mother Earth makes her sacrifice. The mighty sun makes its sacrifice. The cosmic beings make their sacrifice, and so on and so forth. We worship them, we honor them, we praise them for that sacrifice, and thereby granting us the opportunity to continue and in our evolution and gain more experience. Is that right, Nehemiah, or is that a little off of there?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So the results of this is countless reincarnations to work out the negative karmic position activated by the contamination of the auric body, extending from the negative thought forms of the uncontrolled imagination. Number two, visualization, the pathway of the invocation of energy. Sorry, the pathway for the invocation of energy. The power of visualization is an aspect of imagination. In fact, the ability to visualize is a direct result of imagination. In other words, imagination gives humankind the ability to visualize. This ability to visualize opens a pathway for mind substance and cosmic energies to be invoked and then pulled through a spontaneous vortex opening, creating an explosive effect that allows a certain degree of manifestation on various levels of mind frequencies. This explosive effect of mind substance and cosmic energies are the thought form images that we all see in our minds during periods of imagination, and the thought forms that hangs on the aura and helps to distort the atmosphere. Excuse me. This aspect of imagination called visualization is one of the key components to man's development. All mystical practices have some degree of imagination and visualization. As stated above, visualization is the igniting force within the imagination. When the student imagines something, it is his conscious efforts of visualization that helps to bring control over the imagination, thereby creating these manifested thought forms in a visualized state of being. The more control that is placed over this visualization, the greater power it. Right? The more control that is placed over this visualization, the greater power it absorbs. Yeah. And the greater the manifestation becomes. This ability of controlled imagination can also be described as the ability of concentration and contemplation. The greater the ability to concentrate, the greater ability one has over the ability one has over the power of imagination and visualization. The greater the ability one has over the power of imagination and visualizing something into manifestation. Yeah. The ability one has over the power of imagination and visualizing something into manifestation. Concentration is the ability to channel all your thoughts down one direction for long periods at a time, absorbing all the information readily available on that subject. The ability of contemplation is when your concentration has become so pointed that it begins to yield and produce new information. This new information is a result of concentrating down one single train of thought, thereby creating a magnetic pull on the universal mind for similar and connected information to the subject on an abstract level of the higher mind frequencies. The ability to contemplate brings about psychic powers, such as clairvoyance, clairaudience, and psychometry, etc., which is a result of conditioning the gnotic system and auric structure to receive higher frequencies of mind substance. We will speak more on this later in this chapter. Number 3, imagination gives life to the following. Human thought forms are possible because of the inherent ability of imagination. This ability of imagination is the power over his environment. The man that controls his imagination has the control over his destiny. It gives him the ability to direct his energies down specific pathways and create the mental, emotional, and physical conditions of his environment necessary to sustain the manifestation of the desired imagination. Therefore, you see, imagination can be considered the building blocks of thought forms, or maybe the glue that holds thought forms together. So see here is the counter argument presented to the or counterpoint to the initial point here mentioned earlier. This initial point is, I guess you could say, that the negative, the result of an uncontrolled imagination. But then down here we have the counter positive point of the effects of a controlled imagination, which is really what this entire documented chapter is about: controlling the imagination. Mental forms within this atmosphere. Mental forms within his atmosphere. Mental forms within his atmosphere. Wait, why did I do this here? I don't remember. Mental forms within his atmosphere is a result of man's ability to manifest various thought forms through his ability to control or uncontrol his imagination. For example, when someone is approached and given bad news on a family member, friend, or loved one, if they lack a controlled imagination, then their first response would be to think the worst of the situation. These negative thought forms are energized through vividly visualizing the event and having an emotional attachment to the event in their mind. This imagination could be far worse than the actual situation, and thereby negatively ionizing the mental and emotional atmosphere. Thought forms like this are the things or patterns that serves to contaminate the atmosphere and deteriorate the environment in which we live. All right, what's here? Let's serve to contaminate the atmosphere or serves. Okay, sure. Let's serve to contaminate the atmosphere and deteriorate the environment in which we live. Why did I do this here? I don't remember. Mental thought forms the atmosphere. I'll come back to that. I don't remember why I did that. I'll come back to that. Mental comprehension. Imagination can enhance mental comprehension through the repetition of practical and specific visualization on any particular subject placed before the mind. This level of concentration can be examined or observed in many professions that requires highly specialized skills, which derive from the ability to concentrate down a single channel of thought. For example, a criminal investigator that arrives at a crime scene focuses in on everything that is within a particular radius of the crime scene. The investigator treats every object as a link to the answer of the problem he is trying to solve within the crime scene. Um, let's say the investigator treats every object as a link to the answer to the problem he is trying to solve, or a link to the answer of the problem he's trying to solve. Both make sense, but I think I like of better. Answer of, oh no, answer to the problem. Yeah, okay. He repeatedly uses his imagination to recreate the crime scene to come up with various angles to reach the truth. The repetition of this type of imagination creates mental comprehension that eventually reveals the truth that he seeks. This repeated imagination creates a magnetic pull on the emotional, mental, and psychic levels of mind frequencies and pranic frequencies within the atmosphere. His whole orb becomes a huge auric matrix, magnetically receiving and transmitting frequencies related to the subject, yeah, that is being concentrated upon. This auric receiving and transmitting matrix sets in motion gnotic knots within the aura that absorbs the frequencies and transmits it throughout the Nadi system, allowing the receiver the ability to demonstrate keen comprehension, outstanding intuition, and abstract reasoning ability. His repeated recreation of the crime scene through his imagination brings about a keen reasoning ability within the investigator. Oh, excuse me. It's the same way the yogi student begins his journey towards controlling his mind and body through the power and use of imagination. Essentially, everyone who desires to become proficient in anything must use imagination in order to build a pathway and set the proper environment for developing that particular skill. No, must use their imagination. No, that's not necessary. Prayer is no different. When developing your skills of prayer, you must create an imaginative pathway. This pathway is created by the constant visualization of your desired intent of what you want to do. Every time you think something, it is created on the subtler mental level in a series of picture patterns that radiates within and without from your auric field. When you intensify these thoughts, sorry, when you intensify these thoughts through the constant visualization of the same thing, the picture patterns begin to draw into the auric field those substances that it needs to sustain itself and accomplish the predetermined goal of its existence. The picture patterns seem to take on a life of its own and become a living force. The picture patterns are sustained by the level of concentration produced during the repeated visualization of the thought patterns. This leads us into the next subject we will go into, concentration. Let's see, how much further do I want to go? Okay, I'll finish points 4, 5, and 6 because they're pretty short. Imagination creates images of thought forms. The power of imagination allows you to create images of thought forms within your mind. These images are roughly based on the conscious and unconscious specifications of the thought forms images brought about by the power of imagination. So why is this in red? I don't know.
That's something I did.
Oh, you did that? Okay. Does it need to be red or you just,
Is how I wrote the document.
oh, okay. So I can change it then?
Well, I'll change it when we finish.
Okay. The power imagination had the power uh, of imagination has a magnetic quality. The images and thought forms, yes, thought forms created by the power of imagination has a magnetic quality over mental energies, subtle energies, etheric subtle elements, and astral subtle elements, and physical subtle elements. These elements uh, build upon the mechanical substance of the images and thought forms to animate and sustain the images. Number 6. Wait, you know what? Can I save this?
Those key words are part of the diagram.
Yeah.
The diagram that page is open with,
Huh.
the cover page.
Yeah, up here, yeah.
The words in red.
Oh, okay. Uh-oh.
What you trying to do now?
I'm trying to see if this has been saving or not.
Just hit save. That's all.
There is no save.
That's Word, right?
Yeah, it's Word, but the web version.
You can hit Control S.
Um, let's copy. Oh dear. Let's go classic ribbon. File. Oh well.
Go to Home. Home save is always in there.
Well, it says review mode. Last saved just now. I assume it's saving as we go along, but oh,
You should go to option and tell it to save every 1 minute or every whatever.
yeah, usually the online version will do that save every couple of seconds or every few edits, but I just didn't see a save icon there. So, well, I'll download a copy of this one and then compare it and send it back to you. Okay, 6. Imagination is visualization, a sustaining device that energizes thought forms. A main component of imagination is visualization, a sustaining device to energize the imagined images and thought forms created. Constant visualization is designed to sustain the created thought forms by pulling on the power of the subconscious aspect of mind to feed the thought forms the necessary mental specifications, vital energies, and eventually subtle material elements needed to manifest the desired imagination. Okay. The fourth component of imagination is love energy, a sustaining power. Another component of imagination is universal love energy that sustains everything within operational cycles which carry you to your destination. Man's imagination has a magnetic effect on the psychomental level of his being, which causes which causes various mental explosive activities that produces the mental images desired from his mental command. The thought forms that are produced and manifested by man's interactions in life, the process of imagination, are placed on and within the human aura of man. The amount of knowledge possessed on the subject being thought forms, or the subject being the thought form, and desire to put forward towards the subject with the love energy for the subject dictates the lifespan of the imaginative thought forms. These thought forms hang on the aura and create what I call a karmic signature of the person. It actually helps to mold and shape the mental, emotional, and physical state of man's life. Each one of these thought forms have various colors, shapes, and patterns that formulates throughout the aura of man. Love energy, Amanda Shakti principle, maintains an unbreakable balance to the other Shakti principles or major cosmic energies of the universe. The configuration of love energy allows it. Wait, why did I add that? You don't need that there. Allows it continuous access to the power that flows from the endless unmanifested potential of God's power. It is the love energy of God that never fails because of its constant link to the divine source. It is love energy that will change or modify anything that tries to obstruct its forward movement of preserving the progressive evolution of the universe. The love energy's goal is to achieve the will of God through preserving the manifested journey of all life on all the realms of existence. Therefore, the love energy that's being spoken about here is an ultra positive energy force that demands a progressive forward movement under the direct compounded pressures of karmic laws. The preservative love energy is offered to every life form in the universe. It is a power that does not discriminate, and it preserves all things in accordance to the divine laws of karma, which represents the expressed will of God. Yeah, I think I'll stop there. Let me see. Oh, yeah, that's why I did that, because this is brought up again later. Okay, anyway, we're going to stop here this week. Um, Hopefully I can download this. Create a copy, download a copy. Yeah. Where did it go? Save as. Let's call this DM2. So yeah, that's an preview of how we work, generally speaking, when it comes to working on producing materials for everyone. If this is an activity that some of you, usually it's more involved if we have a couple of us going through a document, because we can do it, we can do edits as a team. We can do it individually and then come back with meetings later on as a team to compare our edits and give a reasoning for why we think this should be worded this way or worded another way. If this is something that you would like to participate with, by all means, send us an email and we'll um, find a way to fit you in. But if you have any further questions or comments, feel free to send us an email and we can either answer that privately for you or we can answer in a subsequent session. Just let us know in the email if you're okay with us addressing it publicly or privately, and we'll honor your wishes. Um, was there anything else you wanted to add, you mind, before we close today's session?
No, it's pretty good.
Okay. Where's my, there we go. All right, so before we close out, let's recite the New Lord's Prayer. And let's see, we have the 31st, that's next Sunday. So September, my goal is to return to the RSS series improper, which is reviewing of the transcripts of the 21 Lessons of Metaphysics series. So do keep your notes and questions handy because we will, from that series, we will go back into that series in September. As to whether or not we'll have class next week on the 31st, that Sunday, um, do keep an eye on Meetup because the announcement will go out. Like for this week, I sent the announcement out late. I apologize for that. But if you do keep a lookout for emails generated by Meetup, or if you're on our email list, I generally do try to send the emails out at least a couple of times before class starts, at least a few days before and a few hours before class starts. Usually get a couple of emails announcing the class for that week. But if not, do keep tuned into a Meetup, into your email, and you'll see when uh, class is scheduled for that week. All right, if there's no further questions or comments, let us recite the New Lord's Prayer and close out today's session. The New Lord's Prayer. O divine and wondrous Spirit, O everlasting Lord of hosts, send forth now through me thy great and lasting power. Allow me, Almighty God, the lasting privilege of radiating to all the world thy great love, so that those who suffer may be given the power and energy to rise above their weaknesses. Almighty God, in great humility do I ask you to send forth your power, to give to me this great lasting privilege of being a channel, so that my suffering brothers may be helped and guided and healed and lifted into thy light, so that they who know not may look up, and in doing so receive to their higher selves your divine counsel. Almighty God, this day have you granted me a divine privilege. I ask you now to give to me the strength so that never again will I turn from my inner vision of you. Oh, great peace, great peace, great peace. In praise of your greatness, O God, doth my soul sing. Grant it energy to sing on forever and forever. All right. Thank you very much, everyone, for your kind attendance and participation. Again, if you have any questions or comments, inquiries, or would like to express an interest in volunteering and helping us out, uh, feel free to send us an email at mysticknowledgecenter, all one word, at gmail.com. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time. Take care.